Howdy y'all, Caleb here. Let's look at some battle tactics. If you're new to Age of Sigmar, battle tactics are a strategy you select at the beginning of your turn to accomplish that turn. This is in addition to capturing objectives, killing other things, yada yada yada. Here's what the text says. At the start of your hero phase, you must pick one battle tactic from the list below. You must reveal your choice to your opponent, and if your battle tactic instructs you to pick something, you must tell your opponent what you pick. You have until the end of that turn to complete this battle tactic. You cannot pick the same battle tactic more than once per battle. Generally, these are worth about 2 points in that round. So you do need to try to achieve these because 2 points every turn, obviously, by the end of the game, gives you 10 points. Now, in the previous General's Handbook, these were pretty easy to accomplish. If you failed a battle tactic in a game, usually that means you're kind of falling behind. You're getting behind on those points. These ones are going to be a little bit more difficult. You are definitely going to have to plan them out and seek those opportunities to score these battle tactics. So they are more difficult this time. And we're going to look at see which ones I think are best for Seraphon in our army and our play style and how the game develops. So kind of the same thing as we did with the grand strategies. I'm going to give these a star rating. These are just my own opinion. I haven't played that many games in this new General's Handbook, so let me know which ones you've accomplished so far, which ones you find easy or difficult, and we can all get better as we play with our wonderful lizardmen. So starting off, these are the ones from the General's Handbook. The first one is Against the Odds. Pick one unit from your starting army on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if at the end of the turn, any models from that unit are contesting an objective you control, and that objective is not being contested by any enemy Galician veteran models. So this one has some very specific things, but I rated this 5 stars because this sounds to me like the turn 1 battle tactic. This is the one you're going to pick when you're going first, and you can very, very easily score it. Basically, score an objective. Now, there are some things you have to make sure that it's not being contested by any Galician veterans. So if you're going second the first turn, this could be slightly harder. But if you have any objectives in your deployment zone, this one's super, super easy. So I think this one's probably going to be everybody's pick in turn 1, unless you see something better that's been lined up for you. But this one's very easy to get. So 5 stars for that one. The next one is an eye for an eye. You complete this battle tactic if one or more friendly units were destroyed in the previous turn and one or more enemy units are destroyed in this turn. This is your reactionary battle tactic. So you're going second. You just had a unit destroyed. This is an easy pick. You're going to kill something in this turn, and this will be an easy one to capture. There's not really any other qualifiers here. It doesn't have to be killed by anything specific. It doesn't have to be anything specific. You just have to kill a unit after you've had a unit killed. So another easy one that's going to happen naturally. So just make sure you pick this. Don't pick it when they didn't kill anything last turn or something. That would be silly. But this one should be fairly easy to accomplish. So far we got 2 that are easy to accomplish. It almost seems like turn 1 is the first one, turn 2 is the next one, because that you're gonna have stuff dying by turn 2. The third one here is Barge Through Enemy Lines. You complete this battle tactic if there are 2 or more units from your starting army wholly within the opponent's territory at the end of this turn. If 2 or more of these units are Galician veterans, score 1 additional victory point. So there is a multiplier here for that Galician veteran if you can accomplish it with that. But when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking very easy for Starborn. You'll probably be getting this, turn 3 or 4 as you're pushing forward, as you've already teleported something behind their lines, or teleport 1 unit and drop some chameleon skinks, and boom, you got this one easy. Starborn has it very easy where Galician veterans, you'll probably have quite a few skinks. Teleport those skinks in, get this set up, and score that extra point. In Coalesce, it becomes a little bit harder because generally you're not pushing heavy into your opponent's territory, but it's very similar to Savage Spearhead in the last one. I think that's what it's called. And I would always claim that with the Chameleon Skinks. I loved Chameleon Skinks for their battle tactics. And it same goes here. If you're playing Coalesced, 2 units of Chameleon Skinks will get this. It won't get the extra Galician veterans, unfortunately. You won't really have too many options. I mean, generally, you're not pushing your warriors in Coalesced across the field that far. But it is very achievable with Chameleon Skinks. So if you were doing this the way it's lined up here, you could get against all odds turn 1. Eye for an eye, turn 2. Turn 3, you're dropping Chameleon Skinks into their territory for that third one. Not a bad option. It does require some planning, but it is achievable. Fourth one here is Desecrate Their Lands. Pick one terrain feature or faction terrain feature that is partially or wholly within your opponent's territory. You complete this battle tactic if you control that terrain feature at the end of this turn. I put this one as 5 stars because this does seem very easy. Now, it will wildly depend on the terrain that is set up on the table. If by some reason there's no terrain in the opponent's territory, then this is unachievable. But generally, there'll be something in their terrain or in their territory, and it doesn't have to be wholly within. It says partially or wholly within, which is interesting. Why didn't they just say within your enemy's opponent's territory? But anyway, this one is very achievable for something like Chameleon Skinks, which you're going to be putting into or right next to a terrain feature anyway. You might have them back there for barge through enemy lines, and so a very easy one to accomplish with our teleports and stuff. It can be denied if they know you're going for this, so be careful of that. If they can get something with a redeploy over onto that terrain or near that terrain, so they can contest that terrain piece. But this one should be able. You should be able to get this at some point in the game if you're pushing forward, if you're putting things behind them, if you're teleporting things around in Starborn. Good grief, this is so easy in Starborn as you're teleporting all around the field. So 5 stars for this one for our army. With the teleports and the movement we got, I think you can get this one. We have another one here, Gaining Momentum. Pick one enemy unit on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed during this turn, and you control more objectives than your opponent at the end of this turn. This one screams to me like the double turn battle tactic. You've had the previous turn, you win priority, now you've double turned. You already own the objectives, so now you can focus on taking out a unit. Because you do have to, I mean, this isn't just a super easy one to get. You do have to plan this out, make sure you control more objectives, make sure you kill a unit. But it shouldn't be too hard to accomplish when you're looking at the board, when you're looking at what you're doing. I think this one should be good. But I'm looking for this one if I'm double turning somebody. I'm looking at Gaining Momentum. Fitting name for that one too. We have 3 more from the General's Handbook here. Head to head. Pick one enemy Galician veteran unit on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed during this turn by an attack made by a friendly Galician veteran unit or an ability of a friendly Galician veteran unit. So, this one will probably end up happening, but I think you're going to want your bounty hunters into Galician veterans. Our Galician veterans will be, they can do some damage, as we've seen in the previous video with warriors. Warriors can pump out some serious damage when they're buffed up. So it is achievable that way. Skinks can kill when you've got 30 skinks shooting 60 times and then fighting with 90 dice. You can put out some hurt with those things. So it is going to be achievable, but there are a lot of conditions here. You do have to take out the whole unit. You have to fight it with a Galician veteran unit. So you'll know when those opportunities arrive. When you see, I'm able to push my warriors into their battle line. They have an MSU battle line. I'm pushing my guys into that small unit. Let's go for this head-to-head. This one can be difficult if they get like a good redeploy. You're moving your warriors in and they get a good redeploy. That could be difficult. Skinks will love this one because you're able to shoot a lot. You're able to shoot and then charge. So you have kind of 2 different options, 2 different abilities to get in there and kill these guys off. So Skinks will like this one, I think, for head-to-head. A little bit more difficult for Coalesced. Next one is Outmuscle. Pick one enemy Galician veteran unit that has any models contesting an objective marked as the Proving Ground. You complete this battle tactic if no models from that enemy unit are contesting the Proving Ground at the end of this turn. So Proving Ground is that new ability in this realm that we're fighting in, that the player going second picks the Proving Ground. And you have to have Galician veterans to capture that objective. So you've got some weird things going on here, and that, you know, you if you're going second, you've picked the Proving Ground, so you're kind of setting things up, but you're generally going to not pick a Proving Ground where they have a Galician veteran already on it. So it's kind of an odd battle tactic here. The title Out Muscle, I mean, this one, it is going to be harder to do unless you're able to go second and you know that they don't have a very good Galician veteran unit to get over there, and you can literally out muscle that unit on the objective. So it is going to be a little bit more difficult to get this one, I think. It does definitely take some planning and foresight as you're picking that, because you're probably going to be picking this when you're going second, and they've already had a turn. So they've had a turn to react to your Proving Ground choice. Now you've got to go for this objective. So an interesting one. I'm not sure how this one's going to play out. I need some more experience with choosing Proving Ground to see how this one fares. The last one is, this one's mine. Pick one enemy unit on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed during this turn by an attack made by the model picked to be your general. I put this one as 4 stars because I was thinking of Coalesce. This one's not quite as easy in Starborn, where you end up with usually a wizard being your general, and it does require to be an attack, which makes it a little bit more difficult to do it with an ability, things that a lot of times you're popping off with spells and stuff. But in Coalesce, which I love my Stegadon Chief as the general, you're generally gonna destroy something with that Stegadon Skink Chief. You're gonna buff him up, send him at something, and usually whatever you point him at is gonna die, whether it's shooting, charging, melee. Usually that melee, you're rolling a ton of dice off of all the attacks that you're pumping up into him, and this one I think you're going to get it sometime throughout the game. Now you got to pick it strategically. Hopefully your general doesn't die before this, which I've had happen. But I think this one is one that is, if you're juicing up your Stegadon's Chief, then pick this one and apply it to whatever unit you're head hunting there. So I like that one, especially in Coalesced. We do have some Seraphon only battle tactics. Now this comes from the White Dwarf issue 469, and these may or may not exist in the tournament you're going to. It sounds like some people are going to want it to restrict our faction only grand strategies and battle tactics, but as of right now, these are all playable, perfectly fine to pick, and we'll see if they're really viable or not. I don't think we have battle tactics that are like super easy like some of these armies. Some of these armies have battle tactics that are like unmissable. It's something you do and you've got it. Like there's nothing to it. Ours are quite a bit more difficult. In fact, I played Coalesce mostly, Thunder Lizard mostly in this edition. Played Starborn Skink heavy stuff in the previous edition. But I pretty much never took these unless I was already steamrolling the opponent. So Stampede of Scales it can be taken in either one, but you'll generally have more monsters in Thunder Lizard. That's kind of where this one ends up being playable mostly. So Stampede of Scales, pick 3 different friendly monsters. You complete this battle tactic of all the units you picked, run in the following movement phase, and finish that run within 6 inches of each other and wholly within enemy territory. So lots of qualifiers here. You have to have 3 monsters. They all have to be running. They all have to be within 6 inches, and they all have to be wholly within enemy territory. Whew, that's a lot of restrictions. Now, I've used this a couple times in games where I've wiped them off the board, and now I'm just running my monsters across the table to get into their zone, and I get this like turn 5. But generally, you're not going to be running your monsters because you want them to be doing things. You want them to be shooting. You want them to be charging. They have a purpose, and running a lot of times takes away that purpose. Now, you do get usually one of those that you don't mind running, like a Bastildon who's got the Skink Priest on it to give him run, shoot, and charge. Engine of the Gods, you don't really mind running a lot of times, but it's hard to get 3 of these and all the way across the board into the territory of the enemy. So for that, I'm giving it 2 stars. Not the most useful unless you've completely wiped out the other team and you're just looking to pick up some grand strategies. In those cases, it will come in handy. The other one is Might of the Starborn. Pick 1 objective on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if you summon a friendly unit that has a Celestial Conjuration Point, CCP, cost of 20 or more during the turn. And that unit is wholly within 12 of an objective you picked. So before, we didn't use this very often, I don't think, because you're generally summoning before you get to 20 points. Now, you might save up those points for a grand strategy. This one is an easy grand strategy to achieve, as long as you're within range of an objective. But you do have to save up for 20 points. That's a lot to save up for when you're summoning and when, we don't really build summoning lists nowadays. But it is achievable. 20 points is a Bastildon. You see the list down there. A Scarvet on Carnosaur, 20 warriors. 20 warriors isn't a bad idea. It's probably worth saving up for, because 20 warriors now count as Galician veterans, and they can still put out quite a few attacks, and they get to fight in ranks now. So 20 warriors, although they're not as good in Starborn as Coalesce, but 20 warriors are worthwhile. You are obviously only going to get this in a Starborn army because you can't summon using CCP points in a Coalesced army. Well, I guess you could summon from the engine, but you're not going to summon 20 or more, so 20 or more points. So you can't actually achieve this in a Coalesced list. So it's worth keeping in your back pocket if you're banking a lot of summoning points. You can achieve it if you're going for that Bastildon. If you're going for an Engine of the Gods or a Stegodon Chief, you can go for it. It's tough to get that high. You've got a lot of dice rolls you need to make to get that high, but it is achievable. This one is one that you don't have to kill something. You don't have to do anything. This can be achieved in your backfield. So not a bad option, not the best option, obviously. All right, well, that's what we got for battle tactics. Let me know if any of these you think are easier or harder than what I've said here. You've probably gotten more games in than I have, so let me know as we experiment with our list building and get them on the table. I think we'll see if some of these kind of rise to the top for our lizard armies. All right, guys. See y'all next time.